Hello, everybody, and good afternoon, good evening. I'm here with the main man, Joe Pratton, today, who is new to the show. So it's great to be here. First of all, we're going to be talking a lot about what's happened today, and there is new transfer rumours. There is new transfers coming into the City ground. I don't know anything much about departures. I'm going to try and get as much on Lewis Grabban as I can because I know people have got questions about him. And we're going to be also talking a little bit more about pre-season. So as many of you know, in the last 24 hours, it's been pretty turbulent. John Percy has been at work and he's been doing a great job. He's been talking a little bit about Omar Richards and Neco Williams, both coming to Forest in a combined fee of around £25.8 million. Massive for a duo. Neco Williams will become the second most expensive Forest player in history. And that's going to be really interesting to see. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. And joined alongside me is the amazing Joe Pratton, who Kel says hello to. So, Joe, Kel said hello to you already.
Good evening, Kel.
We've got James here. He's saying hello. Kian, hope you're doing well. Osborne plays FPL. I hope you're doing well also. We're just waiting for a few more people to come in because it's not as busy as I would have thought it would be. But we are only a minute in. So just let's give it a moment now, shall we? So I want to kick off this, and we've already got a question there. Sean, I'm very well. I hope you're doing well also. Good to hear from you. Will we still get Toffolo? We're gonna dive into this because this is a really interesting question. Hi, Forest Dan. I hope you're doing well. We've got Dominic here. Dominic, I hope you're doing well, my friend. You certainly look very happy on that profile picture, so I hope that's your current mood. Jimmy, you Reds, hello, my friend. Ben, evening all. Hope you're doing well. Tim, great to see you, my friend. Don't forget, guys, you can join this stream if you want to. I don't know why it didn't work last time, but I am going to put a link in the chat. So if you just scroll, you might be able to see that. Mart, hope you're doing well. Can't believe you're not coming on to sing today. Hi, Forest Ant, Kel says. Hey, big spenders. You know it. Come on. Evening, Daryl. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for the advice earlier. No worries, Kian. Just get in contact with me. Hello, Jamie. How are you? I'm all good. Thank you, Eve. Great to hear from you. So let's get into this. Now, it's been a massive day for Forest. And I think for transfers overall, because obviously there's been other clubs signing people as well. But Forest seem to be the Premier League club that is signing the most, perhaps other than Leeds. I know, and Tottenham, they're doing lots of business as well. But Forest, I think altogether they've spent somewhere like in the region of 36 million, was it? I think around that kind of area. And they're now about to spend another 25 million. So I just want to ask you, Joe, what are your thoughts on the signings so far? So you've got Biancone, Henderson, Niakate and Awoniyi. Are they four good signings considering the price you've got them for?
Oh, definitely. I think we're coming up to the Premier League, so we're hoping to get big signings to be able to keep us up for this year. And I think given our status as the team that's gone up through the playoffs, so you'd like to think probably from other teams they're going to write us off pretty much already. I think we are signing in at the signings that we're getting in are at a consistent level. They've clearly been playing at top league in other countries, or as a second string in the case of Dean Henderson under David De Gea. I think we're signing in at consistent players who are of a younger age who will clearly learn a lot under Cooper, as we've seen by all the loans that we've taken in this year or in the past season. And I think we're just kind of making the consistent signings that are going to be able to mold well into the team that we've already had set up as a core from last season. And we're going to be able to build them up. And every player that we saw that came under our wing last season under Cooper, we saw how well they all grew and flourished as a team and as individual players. So I'm just more than excited for how well we can really push on next year and see how we're going to do against some of the world's best.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing as well is that, you know, we would never have thought Forest to be spending anywhere near the amount we're spending. I mean, when João Carvalho came in, I mean, obviously, I think Benfica, and I don't mean this in any disrespect to Benfica, but I think they overinflate the prices for their players because they know that Premier League teams will cough up for it and they know that English teams will cough up for it, as we did with Carvalho. And I think George Mendes sold us down the river, essentially. I don't like George Mendes, by the way. I just think some football agents are poison. And I do think, for example, that he is someone that I just don't think has done any good, really, for football. in some instances. I'm sure he's done good for others, but I just think he's got his own interest at heart. But I'm just looking at some of the comments. Interested in what's happening with Grabham. We'll get into this. Steve Cooper, still no contract signed, agreed in principle, but no signature yet. Cobran, we're going to get into that as well, because obviously that was a shock departure this morning. I was in law and I got a notification on my phone saying that Cobran was leaving. I promise you I didn't celebrate because obviously it's a really sad departure for Huddersfield. And I don't mean this in any disrespect to Huddersfield, but I actually do see them. If they do lose O'Brien and Toffolo and potentially some other players, I do see them possibly getting bottom half next season. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later and give my reasoning for it. Yeah. Thank you for your stellar coverage. I like your consciousness and passion that comes through in all that you say. Keep up the work and we'll watch your interest. Thank you very much, Tim. It's been great so far. We've got 523 subscribers, which is amazing. We were just hit 500 last night. So if you can drop a subscribe and like, it'd be amazing. I've also got some news coming for you soon regarding a sponsorship of the channel. We're going to make it happen. It's a dream come true, but we'll get you some more news on that later. Morning from New Zealand. Wow, morning. That's crazy to think about. I hope you're doing well, Peter. Eve, and we've got people in the comments. So let's have a quick look. And do you know what? We're going to kick it off because people are asking the question. Hello, Lewis. I hope you're well. People are asking the question about Cobran. Let's kick it off with a bit about Cobran. Now, Osborne Plays FPL here says, because Huddersfield manager has left, apparently that makes us harder to get O'Brien and Toffolo, but won't make it easier as the only thing making the players stay was Carlos Cobran. I mean, I just want to say before I ask you, Joe, about your thoughts on that. I would say I thought the reason, I mean, it's unconfirmed completely, isn't it? But I would have thought the reason that Cobran was going to leave or is leaving, I mean, he's a quality manager and he'll do well wherever he goes, in my opinion. But I think the reason that he's leaving is because of the fact that the owners are willing to sell the likes of O'Brien and Toffolo, and in my opinion, for fairly low prices. I think O'Brien's about right, but Toffolo ridiculously low. So, Joe, I just want to ask your thoughts on that. You know, obviously, it's a shock departure for Huddersfield, and it's a massive loss. Just 3 weeks left to go until their respective division kicks off. So, what are your thoughts on that? Why do you think Cobran's left Huddersfield?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a shock departure for him, and it is clearly something that's been his choice and not being forced out by the club. And I think you kind of touched on the right point there, where it seems like the owners are willing to get rid of these players, but as a team that finished third in the championship, got to the finals of the playoffs, that's the kind of time where you'd be like to looking to your owners and say, right, we need to push on now and try and get up one more spot, get into those automatics, and then we're in the promised land of the Premier League. But they seem to be doing the complete opposite and be willing to get rid of some of their top players who helped them get into that spot from a position the season before where they finished 20th. They made a massive upturn last season, and now they seem to be willing to sell on without really any kind of plans for the future to then use that money wisely. And he must be just looking at his squad dissolving pretty much and saying, I just need to jump ship because I'm not going to be able to achieve what's going to be expected of me now after finishing third and making to the playoff finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, the idea of jumping ship's important there. And I'll touch on that a little bit. I think that as well, I mean, they've probably spent a fairly good amount of money because nobody that gets a top six push isn't spending a fairly good amount of money. Although I will say that, but Luton, fair play to them, as much as people don't like Luton and the manager and whatever. I think they did really well last season to get where they got to. I do hope that they get another charge this season and see where it goes, because I think they really did deserve it last season. And I think actually Huddersfield were fairly lucky in some respects, because I think if it was Sheffield United that either team were playing, I think they would have absolutely bulldozed them. And we were lucky we didn't lose that second leg, really.
Oh, definitely.
But I'm going to be, we're going to look at some of these comments as well. Hennessy will be signing once Burnley sign Muric. I don't know why they're signing Muric, in my opinion. I mean, I don't understand that. I just thought when he was at, I think it was it Muric that was at Forest? It was, wasn't it? The City keeper.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was him. Yeah, he was dreadful. I really hope that Burnley don't do that. I know that they're in a few issues financially, but I'm sure they can stretch to a bit better than that. Ben Bloom Football Channel. Yeah, big shout out to Ben Bloom as well. I love watching his YouTube videos. He's done a great
that he did.
Really, really good. Nick, good shout there. For anybody wanting to watch that, that's Benjamin Bloom. Hi, Reds. I hope you're doing well. Optimal lad. Any thoughts on MGW and Palace links? Now, we're going to get into that because I should be back in the stream later. No worries, Kian. Take care, my friend. It'll be available forever on here. But yeah, the Morgan Gibbs-White situation has become somewhat controversial because, I mean, as much as we all want to see Morgan Gibbs-White sign, the £20 million valuation now just seems completely out of contention. I mean, at first we were having £11 million plus £5 million in add-ons for, or 10 plus 5 for Nico Williams. That was what we wanted. Now Liverpool want up to 17 million. Whereas Wolves, they were originally capped at £20 million and now they want 25 to 30 million pounds. So there has been another link with Forest here, and it's this man, Yusuf Yazici. He's 25 years old. He's got 201 appearances for Forest, 46, not for Forest, sorry, for Lille and other clubs as well. Not quite at Forest yet. I'm excited, you see. And 33 assists. So overall, what's that? 79 goal contributions in 201 games, which isn't actually awful, really. And he's 25, so I'd say he fits in the age demographic. 12 to 15 million pounds in valuation. So you're already getting probably what? Another 5 to 10 million pounds off the Morgan Gibbs-White bid that Wolves would have wanted. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, based on what we've seen for the very basic stats we've seen there, potential replacement, maybe. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I'm not too familiar with Yazici and what he's done in Liga. I'm not sure if he actually plays in that role as an attacking midfielder. If he does, what kind of formation he kind of fits in and how he interacts with the team. But if you're basing it purely off of those stats, and you'd say he's a solid replacement for a like of a Gibbs-White, the only reason that we all are familiar with Gibbs-White and we know exactly what he can do is because of what he's done in the Championship this season. And we also know that he's got a lot of links with Cooper from when he's played in the England setup with the under-19s, as well as playing for Swansea on loan. So I think that's why we were heavily linked with him. And then we saw what he did to us in especially that second leg of the playoffs. We saw exactly how much of a dangerous threat he can be, as well as any other games that you might have been able to catch when he was playing for Sheffield in the Championship last season on Sky. So as a direct one-for-one replacement, I'd have to see probably more of his gameplay, his play style. But I think if I was to base it purely off of stats, then yeah, he's definitely someone who I could trust to sit in as an attacking midfielder behind Awoniyi as well as Brennan Johnson.
And obviously, there's nothing set in stone with Yazici. This was reported by Akram Noor, who is a great journalist on Twitter. You can go and find him as well. And this was the guy we're talking about, Yusuf Yazici. And yeah, so he's got basically about 0.75 goal contributions every 2 games. So it's not awful. And it looks like he's doing a fair bit on the pitch other than just goals and assists as well, obviously, which is everything else is really important. As we saw with the likes of Philip Zinkernagel last year, I think he played a crucial role in breaking down attacks in the around the kickoff line. So there's a lot to go into when it comes to scouting a player. And I think Yazici could potentially be on his way to the City Ground, maybe in the coming week, if anything else happens with negotiations and if any bids are put in. But interest is there. So to answer your question about Crystal Palace, I do think Forest is the preferred location for him based on the fact that he knows Steve Cooper. He knows a lot of lads on the team. And I think he's more likely to get first team game time here. So when it comes to a bidding war, though, I think Crystal Palace would win. But I doubt it will come down to that, to be honest. I think Forest will probably just look at other options or get him for that set price.
I'm guessing that's why it's probably Crystal Palace that's mentioned first in that comment, because I think it is probably going back to a tweet that was either yesterday or today where they said that they were leading the race. And that kind of surprised me when I saw that. But I think that must be due to a monetary value that they're willing to put on his valuation, as opposed to the links that he's got with Steve Cooper and Forest.
Absolutely. There's a lot of links. There's a lot of chemistry as well. And as I've mentioned in like the last 4 or 5 streams, the settling in period for a player like Morgan Gibbs-White would basically be nothing because he knows a lot of the guys there. So it would be very easy for him to mould into that squad. Now, looking through the comments, and let me know what you think about Yazici. There's some of his stats there, and we're going to talk a little bit about Nico Williams in a minute. But I'm just going to have a look at some of the comments. Simon Jordan, I've got a bit of a story about him later, said the new Huddersfield owner used the parachute payments to buy the club in a leveraged buyout. Wow. So there could be financial issues at Huddersfield, and I don't think Carlos Cobran wants to be a part of a sinking ship, potentially. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. There's 124 of you in now, so we've broke a record there. Thank you all very much for joining. Please subscribe if you can. 127. Oh, go for that 130. You know you want to. If you can subscribe and drop a like and a comment, that'd be great. I'm trying to get through all your comments as quick as I can. It used to be much easier. I can assure you it's not so much now. Hi, I hope you're well. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Muric the flop. Yeah, he wasn't that great at Forest. I'll give him that. Forest starting 11 against Newcastle so far. Henderson, Niakate, McKenna, Bianconi, Williams, Richards, Yates, O'Brien, Gibbs-White. That would be nice, wouldn't it? I think the Gibbs-White thing, I think next week will be probably the big kind of week for anything to do with Morgan Gibbs-White. I don't think we'll see much more towards the end of this week, but I say that, but anything can happen. We are winning the league, says Optimal Lad. I can tell that you are optimistic, and that is good. 30 million too much, absolutely. So looking through some of these comments, it's James and Kelsey. Look, they're just having a little conversation there. Guys, you need to set up a FaceTime call. This is brilliant. Cal, how's the champagne going down? Oh, great. Well, come on. Come on, give us all a glass. 130 of you in. Thank you all for joining. Ekram Noor said Wolves want 20 million, not 30. Well, Ryan, it's not just Ekram Noor that we're talking about here. This is multiple journalists as well, all saying that it's around 25 to 30 million now. So, and understandably, any club would want the most they can get for a player that's departing that has good value. Just like Middlesbrough with Jed Spence, they're going to want 15 million, which it seems as though Spurs have managed to succumb to. So fair play to them. And I think actually, when you look at the value, Spurs, I think they've got a good value there for Spence, to be honest. Looking at how much Nico cost us as well. Not saying that Nico's a bad player because he's great. I'm going to show you some highlights in a minute that I've made. But I've not made it. I've just recorded it off YouTube. So credits to them. So literally said it yesterday. Yeah, Ryan, but don't forget, this is not just the one journalist we're talking about. This is multiple journalists. So 128 in the chat. It's 138 now, actually. That's amazing. 2 bottles of Prosecco in 5 hours.
Good effort.
Yeah, go steady, I would say. I don't want to see any ridiculous comments in here. Brandon Doan. Conor Gallagher. I think that was probably a joke, if I'm being honest. I don't think Conor Gallagher would be coming to Forest, especially when he's at a fairly decent... I'm not saying that Forest aren't decent, but he's got a good thing going at Crystal Palace if he's still there, or he's going to Chelsea now. I don't know what's going on with that. Me and the Mr. Fan Out are having a baby. Oh, wow. The day that Forest won the playoffs. Wow. That is amazing news.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to you. I mean, I know we're a bit late on the congratulations, but what a day that must have been for you. Amazing. Having a much needed day off. Bless you. I know. Have you got the money to sign in? I mean, I personally haven't got the money to sign Morgan Gibbs-White at the moment. I'm a few bobs short. But yes, in short, we do have the money as a club to sign Morgan Gibbs-White. Let's clear this up, right? If Wolves wanted 30 million pounds for Morgan Gibbs-White, we could pay it, right? Let's be realistic, because after we've paid for Nico Williams and Omar Richards, you've probably spent about 60 million pounds. So there's still money there. It would, I mean, don't get me wrong, would it almost rinse you out 100%? But I just think that maybe, I think 30 million is too much, although we could pay it. So it's not a case of we can't, it's just a case of we won't. And I think that's really important to differentiate there.
I think it's one of those where you can definitely pay it, but are you going to be able to get your return on investment later on down the line if things don't quite pan out? And
that's a massive return you would need as well.
Oh, yeah.
A huge return. And I do want to talk to you actually, because we're talking money now. So let's talk about Nico Williams. Now, obviously, Nico Williams originally valued at around 15 million. Well, we now know that Liverpool wants 17 million for him. He's 21. He's had 121 appearances professionally, which for that age is actually really, really impressive. Obviously, he played at Fulham last season. He's got 5 goals and 17 assists as well in that time. So I would say as well, looking at overall, don't just look at the goals and assists and go, we don't need that because Jed Spence did this, this, and this. Don't look at that. Look at just look at, in fact, I'll put it on now for you. I'm going to mute it. You can put it on behind us. Look, this is just some of the good things that Nico Williams has been doing. I apologize for the video quality. It is a little bit bad, but this is a little bit of Nico Williams, just some of the work that he's doing. From what I can tell, he's good on the attack. And I think actually he has a little bit more defensive quality than Jed Spence. So, Joe, what do you think about that? Because, I mean, you can just look at him. He just looks like he gets a little bit more stuck in than Jed Spence.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's definitely similar in the ilk where he's willing to help get forward in the attack like Jed Spence did. One thing that I like about Nico Williams probably over Jed Spence is he doesn't look like he doesn't overcommit with the overlaps down the wing. We saw it quite a lot with Spence this season where he'd be making runs well past Brennan. And then all of a sudden, if we did lose the ball in the midfield, getting into the final third, you'd be kind of looking at your three centre-backs and then one of your midfielders to kind of drop back and fill into that gap, which often left us with a big gaping hole that we'd have to be able to fill. And I feel like in the Premier League, we'd just get exposed way too easily down that side if that was going to be happening on a regular occurrence. I think Nico Williams is obviously not going to be making those as many forward runs. I think definitely when it comes back to being in defence and being part of that back five, he's a solid replacement for Jed Spencer we grew to love over last season.
And so you do think that Nico is the right replacement for Jed Spence?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think if there's anyone, I can't remember the name of his Twitter account, so I have to apologise on that. But there's a Forest fan who does a lot of posting of graphs and statistics, posts a lot of comparisons between Forest players that we've had as well.
Liam Henshaw?
Yeah.
Henshaw analysis. Amazing. Love Liam Henshaw.
He did one where he was comparing Nico Williams with Jed Spence. And I think some of the stats where they were throwing Jed ahead of Nico would have been on defensive interceptions percentage because he would be attempting less, so the percentage would be naturally higher, as well as dribbles attempted in the final third. He was higher than Nico. I think that was one of the stats, but everything other defensively was higher, which is definitely what we're going to need this season, I think, because we're not going to be blowing out teams 3-0, 4-0 like we managed to do.
Of course.
In the Championship, there's going to be a lot of closely contested games where we have to hold on to either a draw or a one-goal lead. So having those defensive capabilities to drop back and throw himself on the line to make sure that we're preventing any kind of a cross or a pass into the box going in is what we need to be looking at. And I think he is a brilliant substitute for Jed Spence, who unfortunately looks like he's going to be on his way to Spurs. But sorry.
No. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. I think that Nico Williams, obviously, he's got that attacking minded. You can just see from those highlights that we played a minute ago. He knows how to pass into the midfield. He's always got that vision, looking for space. But also he's good on the defense as well. So you have got that. There's two good parts to him. Whereas I think with Jed Spence, there was 1.5. Because I do think he was good defensively. I just think that Nico Williams is that bit better for me.
Yeah.
But as someone's rightly pointed out, and by the way, subscribe to Do Daily if you can, please, guys, because he really does deserve it. He's worked really hard. And Russell, as you say, Do Daily was right yesterday. Jed Spence does have a spark, and he did have something at Forest there. But I suppose you won't know if Nico Williams has a spark until he plays, and we haven't seen him at the City Ground yet. So we've got to give him a chance. I think he's going to do great. Yeah, there's 168 of you in the chat now. So if you can, this is amazing. Yeah, we've smashed records by a lot now. So if you can just drop us a subscription, that would be amazing. I do want to try and hit 550 by the end of the week if I can. And I like to be under optimistic. I don't know what it is about it. But there's a 530 subscribers at the moment. So if you can do 540 by the end of the night, that would be a great challenge. I'm just trying to get through all these comments and also get some chat in. I wouldn't pay more than 20 million. Yeah. But Hilly 14 HD has pointed out could well be 15 plus 10 mil. For me, I would potentially look at that. I think that might be good. So yeah, 15 plus 10 million in add-ons, potentially. That might be a bit more promising. I think Forest will spend 110 this year. That's what my bet has been. Garner, I think, could still be later on in the window. Yeah, potentially. We've said it. I think deadline day would be one for him. Coops contract wise, nothing yet. all in principle. I think it will probably be signed when they come back from Spain, if I'm being honest. I mean, that is nothing, set in stone. But as I say, I think it'll probably when he's back from Spain. Liverpool usually always want to sell on clause 2. Yeah, and rightly so as well, because I think Nico Williams has got a big future ahead of him. 30 million for MGW could only be too much if we went down. Yeah, I suppose so, but it's still a hell of a load of money and could potentially eat up most of our transfer budget, especially after these 2 signings. And I think we still need a striker as well, so you've got to take that into account. Cash or Williams or Spence? I mean, if you're going off current form, it would be Cash all the way. But I mean, just because I know more about Spence, I would say Spence, but I don't know anything about Nico. So for me, it's only between Cash and Spence. Klopp called Nico a machine. He did, and rightly so. Nico being able to play on the left as well, absolutely. Versatility is important. It's clear to see that Steve Cooper's looking at that, just in case the defender or striker injury situation happens again. Thank you, everybody, for the congratulations. No worries. I hope it goes all well, and do keep us updated on that. It's good to see another young Red being brought into the world. 20 million and 30 million, yeah. Williams is a class above Spence long term. Honestly, I'm inclined to agree, but I'm just looking forward to seeing him at City Ground first. Max Goodwin, yeah, you said that very loudly, Nick. Max Goodwin. Yeah, guys, if you can subscribe to Max Goodwin, please do. Me and him are going to be doing a collab soon. I don't know when, but it'll be soon. Probably after Germany, I would say. But I'll talk a bit more about that later on. But yeah, do subscribe to him if you can. Wow, we're getting a lot of comments. Better than Gunter all day long. I mean, I've heard we're still using his money for this. Hi, I hope you're all good. Dean, good to hear from you. Exciting times for Forest, great channel. Thank you very much. Loving the profile picture, my friend. Evening, lads. LJP, good to see you. Casper, done. Oh, you're a legend, my friend. Easy sub, guys, means a lot. Or was that Ez sub? I don't know. Ez seems to be singing at the moment. Nick talking about the Wolves owners. Yeah, we need to get into that later because I know there's some financial issues going on there potentially as well. Get liking and subscribing, absolutely. And yeah, so I'm just going to answer one more. Do you think Issa Kabore will be the second and final loan signing with a buy option? So I will try and get through comments as quick as I can, but that is what I want to talk about now. Issa Kabore, it looks like OGC Nice are going to put in a €10 million bid for him. Obviously, Man City spent a fair amount this transfer window on Calvin Phillips and Haaland, over 100 million. And they're going to want to claw back at least a little bit of it. So I do want to ask you, Joe, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that Forest could potentially get Issa Kabore on a loan, or do you think that Man City would prefer to sell him? Or would they want to see him develop at Forest? What do you think?
I mean, I think they'd have to be looking at that and trying to see if they loan him out to Forest. Okay, in a year, is he going to end up increasing on his capital value so that they can then potentially look at selling him on in a year, or do they just cash out now? I don't know which way they'd play it. I don't know if, as a Forest fan, I'd want to see our second loan go out so soon. I'd almost want to keep a hold of that just as an ace in our pocket coming towards the back end, or at the beginning of the season, or towards the back end of the transfer window.
Yeah,
I would have said, especially since they splashed their cash hard on Haaland, they'd probably want to try and claw some of that back just so that their overall margin doesn't look as spend heavy towards the end of the window.
But do you think that, and in my opinion, this would be it. If I was thinking, I mean, this is for me immoral, but as Man City, loan him out to Forest, he's going to obviously develop and get Premier League game time potentially, and then you could sell him for more. So surely for Man City, if Forest are going to be paying most of his wages, all you've got to let him do is develop there, and you could potentially get double for your player when he comes back from Forest. Surely that would be the best business from Man City?
Yeah, I suppose they'd also have to look at, if at the back end of this week, if we do end up signing Nico Williams, if they loan us Issa Kabore, is he going to be getting starting game time over Nico Williams? I'd say no.
Yeah, Russell completely agrees with you there. And as Forest Stan rightly pointed out, Man City have got 90 million back, so maybe not as willing to sell at the moment. Who knows, though? But we don't know, and I think that's interesting. I have got some news for you all, though. As usual, breaking news. It is being reported currently that Tyrese Forner is flying back to England as he is looking to secure a loan deal for 12 months to Reading. So Tyrese Forner, a good prospect within the Forest squad, and it looks like he's going to Reading for a year. I think that'll do him good. I don't really like Reading. I just think they're an unusual team, really. Not that I don't like them per se, but more so I don't really know much about Reading, to be honest. Yeah. But he's going there, and I think that's going to be good for his development. So good work for Tyrese Forner. Just looking at some of the comments. You think Spencer's attitude has Forest put off him? No, I don't think it is the attitude. I think it's probably the fact that they can't outcompete Tottenham financially.
And he's already publicly, I don't know if it was public or not, but he said he'd like to stay in London because that's obviously where he's from. That's where his family lives.
And also because of the hell of amount of money that I know he's going to be paid. But obviously he's not going to say that. But we know he's going to be played. I do think he'll be paid well as well. But he's going to get game time because I know that a lot of Tottenham fans aren't that interested in Emerson Royale. So maybe some Champions League game time. Who the hell would turn that down? Not me. No. So although I am a Forest fan, so I would, of course, love to play for Forest. But Gunter is back up to Williams. Yeah, obviously, he's 32. He's in the prime of his career there. By the start of the season, I predict you'll have 1,000 subs. Oh, do you think so? I really don't know, guys, because if you can subscribe, that'd be great. I don't know how many subs are on now. I'm going to have a quick check. It would be a dream to get to 1,000. It's always been my dream. We're at 535. We're only 5 off the challenge, and we're halfway through the stream. So could we do 550? I don't know. If you can subscribe, guys, that would be amazing. There's 176 of you in the stream altogether. So if you can just subscribe, it means the world to me. And yeah, it just goes a long way. And I'll be bringing you some more good content. Looking through the comments, there's a lot of them. Why can't Forest not sign a player like Marco Reus? I think his allegiance is at Dortmund, unfortunately, and I'm sure he's financially very comfortable. Reading will be battling relegation. I think Forner will help them, really. He's had a bit of experience, I think, at Shrewsbury. So I think it's a big step up, but I think one that he can certainly take. No egos, just talent, done good with the signings. Yeah, I agree with that one. We're building a team, which is important, not a group of individuals.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll send Dale Taylor on a loan to a League One team? I think so. Obviously, he's just signed a new deal for a good few years. So I would. He was great in the youth final. So, yeah, I would do that. Joe Rebo looks like he's going to Southampton. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's a loss in some way, but I wouldn't say it's the biggest loss ever. I think no. Forest can probably go and get a different midfielder. And I think this Yazici, who we mentioned earlier, I'll just put his slide up now. I think he's a really, really good option as well. So yeah, just looking at this, I said last week when you aim at 350 to go 500, you did, Phil, and you were right, Phil. I just don't have enough faith in myself, to be honest. So please like, comment, subscribe, guys. Yes, there's 186 of you in here. We could do 200 tonight.
200.
Come on, because the previous best was 120, and we're now on 186. If we can do 200 tonight, then I don't know what to say. Come on, guys, we're so close. There's 183 of you now. Come on. My caps is locking. Oh, right. I thought I was going to say, I thought you were having a fight with your laptop. I was going to call the police then. Great streams. Keep them coming. I will. I'll try my best. I mean, I'm at work tomorrow night, but don't believe that'll stop me. It never does. So, George, you can't get me with that one. I know exactly what that says. You can't. I'm not Don Robbie. This is not Arsenal fan TV because I don't fall for that. Well, he looks like a great player, doesn't he? That good old Mike there. Yeah, he's really good. Don't try that with me, George. I see what you tried to do there. Right. I can feel, there's 193 of you now. I can feel my heart going now, guys. I want to let Joe talk for a minute, and I want to ask him a question about the other signing that's coming in for Nottingham Forest. This man, Omar Richards. I mean, it went from being a little rumour that was spreading around to being pretty much in concrete. It's going to happen. John Percy says it's going to happen. 10 to 12 million. It's looking like it's going to be 10 million, which is 8.82 million pounds from Euro exchange. So 24, that's how old he is. He's got 144 appearances. Again, fairly decent for a person of his age. 4 goals and 4 assists. He's got game time at both Reading and around 20 games at Bayern Munich. What are your thoughts on this signing? I think for 8.85 million, it's really, really good. But obviously, I want to know your thoughts on that. Do you think he's the right player to play in that left position?
I'd definitely say so, and I think he is pretty much also a concrete sign-on, similar to Nico, especially after the tweets that we saw earlier on from Militaris Marinakis saying, who can guess our next transfer, and I'll give 2 people a lucky shirt. And then Fabrizio Romano immediately replied and said, Omar Richards. So I think this is pretty much a nail on. And I'd say he's a solid signing for the left back / left wing back role. Obviously, he's not had a lot of game time for Bayern Munich, and that's because he's having to play behind the likes of Alphonso Davies and Lucas Hernandez. But I think that's where we're doing good business. We're picking up these players of the right age who have been playing. They've been signed for big clubs. He's got good defensive attributes. I've seen some of the highlights of Omar Richards. He's not going to be someone who's going to be bombing up the pitch like Jed Spence was on the right. He's going to be more of the holding defender who's got the pace and got the ability on the ball to be able to dribble a couple of defenders and make the pass that's then progressing us up the pitch. And I think we're making solid signings of the right players who are of a good age, good talent and ability, but they're just not getting the game time because they're playing under some of the best fullbacks in the world. And we're going to see that with Nico Williams as well, assuming that we sign him. He's a solid fullback who's just not going to get the game time for Liverpool because he's playing underneath probably one of the best right wing backs in world football at the moment with Trent Alexander-Arnold.
And obviously it's a massive moment for Forest because I think Omar Richards, I mean, he's got lots of, 20 games for Bayern isn't really that bad considering he jumped from Reading. Guys, we've just smashed it. 200 of you in the stream. We've done it. We've almost doubled what we got last time. So this is amazing. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I know that there's some of you watching now that haven't subscribed. So believe me, I'm looking at you. And I can see who you are. Subscribe because it goes a long way. And yeah, so, he's having his medical tomorrow, as Russell rightly points out. And then who knows what's going to happen. I can imagine he'll probably fly over to Spain and then maybe play in the preseason. I don't know if he will, to be fair, because isn't it tomorrow the game, isn't it? So I don't think he will do, actually. Maybe, will he even fly out to Spain? Because,
do
if
we have any of the
preseasons
preseasons outside of there? I'm pretty sure we're only playing Coventry.
Yeah, I think we're only playing Coventry, so I can imagine he would probably stay here and wait for them to come back. I don't know, but what do you think, guys? Air says, Joe, take us for 200 viewers. I don't know who has, but this is incredible, isn't it? Omar is definitely better than what we have. Age-wise and potential-wise at 100%. But it does beg the question, though, and I just want to thank Kel as well for sharing this to groups. It means a lot. This does beg the question. I want to ask everybody in the chat what you think about this. Is there enough space for both Toffolo and Omar Richards? Do you really think that, it's fair to say that Omar Richards will be the first to get game time, but do you think that Harry Toffolo would be content with being a depth player? What do you think about that, Joe?
I think he's definitely good enough to be asking that question where he'd be saying, I should not be signing for a team to be your second string fullback. But I think we're in the position at the moment where we have to be making those signings. We have to be building up depth, especially going into a league next year where we're able to make 5 substitutions every game. And I think we've seen that when we signed Julian Biancone. I think one of the first things I said is he is a quality depth signing because he can play right back, centre back, left back. So he is the perfect signing as part of the depth. And I feel before that we heard out that we were interested in Omar Richards, we all said Toffolo will end up being someone that we could have as a starting left back. And he definitely could have been. But now that we're interested in Omar Richards, and it sounds like it's almost a nailed on signing that we're going to be getting, Toffolo would end up having to be playing second string unless he could adapt his game almost in the inverse of what we had to do last season with Jack Colback, from going as a CDM to a left back. If we could convert Toffolo into someone who could play more in a central midfield role, maybe more as a DM, as a CM, then that just enhances the ability that he's got and then makes him even more of a depth player who's going to be able to come on not just as a replacement for Richards, but maybe as a starting central mid or as a replacement for Colback in games.
Well, anything could happen, as we know. For $2.5 million, you'd think that maybe they'd have Toffolo as that backup. But as I say, it's a lot down to what the player would want. We don't know what could happen next season. So who knows? But anything could happen. But I do want to talk about the fact that I think Forest potentially, not potentially, we definitely need another striker. As Eoin, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. Great to have
Owen?
two quality fullbacks. Owen Yowes, yeah, Owen. Great to have two quality fullbacks who can carry the ball forward. Absolutely. But it's who they're going to carry the ball forward to. And we're going to talk about striker. And then this is where Casper asked the question, what positions do you think we still need to strengthen? Striker for me. And I know that Newcastle have just made a bid for Marco Asensio for 20 million. And if I'm being completely honest, I'd love Marco Asensio at Forest. But for me, too much of a big ego. So as much as I'd love that, the fact he's got Champions League experience, etc., I don't think he'd blend with that team thing they've got going on there. But I think striker for me. And I know there's not really a lot of talk of Keenan Davis, but I think we would need another quality striker for me. Whether it's a big money striker, though, the Red Dog, I know you've mentioned here, I don't really know. So yeah, and Forest Ant, he is coming in for his medical tomorrow, so that'll be good. But I really liked the guy that played for Hungary. I don't know if you had seen that guy, when it was England v Hungary. And I think his name was Salai. Was it Salai? Let me have a quick look on the internet.
Yeah, you've got like Salai and Szoboszlai.
Yeah, I think it was.
Szoboszlai is more of a winger or a cam. I think it's definitely Salai.
Yeah, Salai. He's 6 foot. He's 25. He's in the age demographic. He got 4 goals in 31 matches last season, so not really the best of records necessarily. I'm just looking on transfer market now though, and he has 31 goals and 25 assists in 213 games. So, not awful, but certainly I don't think what maybe we need. Someone's shouted Pirro, Pirro. Yeah, of course. Victor Osimhen would be. I think that's impossible. I know that Napoli apparently want 100 million euros for him. And the top teams in Europe are looking at him. So I would hold off on that one. We could get one player for it, but with our transfer budget. But just Williams, that would take us to 52, with Richards to 60. Absolutely. I think you're still going to need 1 or 2 midfielders and a striker. So we're going to be going into the 120 million region, I would say. And then I think they'll cap it off at that. You've also got to think about January, if we need anybody in January. But yeah, number 10 needed. We need a striker. Guess who tweet? I love that. Miltardis has really played with us all today. And I do want to see Fabrizio Romano in a Forest shirt. So I'm happy for him to give him the Forest shirt if it means just seeing him in it and coming to a few Forest games. Who knows? But Joe, let me ask you this question. Who would you have as striker? Would it be big money? Or would it be someone like Keenan Davis, who, I mean, you could argue is big money, but I'm more talking about players other than Keenan Davis, big money, or someone perhaps with a bit of potential with a decent pricing. What are you thinking? Who are you going for?
I'm trying to think if I'd want to spend my big money on a striker, if I'm honest. I mean, looking at how we played last season and the formations that we played in with 2 strikers and a cam, I think what we've got in Taiwo and then Brennan up top, I think they're going to work really well together as a out-and-out striker in Taiwo and someone who's going to be able to do the pass and move and get into the gaps that Brennan's going to do. I'd rather make our big money signing on someone to replace Zinchenko. Okay. In that cam role, who's going to be making those final passes into those two, going to be going in and out all over the pitch. One of the first players that's going to be pressing the defence as soon as we lose the ball or as soon as they make a pass into their back line, who's going to be running all over the pitch for 90 minutes, just causing havoc on the entire opposition, just to then tire them out and give Taiwo and Brennan a bit of an easier ride. So that's where I'd like to invest my money. If we were to make a big signing, that's the kind of position I'd want to make it in.
So you'd say midfield would take your priority and then maybe a smaller striker, maybe to have it. Because I think Surridge has still got to be in the equation. He's a great finisher.
Yeah. I mean, we're already pretty much in the position that we're at the moment, where we've pretty much written off Surridge as one of our substitutes who's going to be coming on as an impact striker to replace either Taiwo or Brennan going into every Premier League game. And he did a fantastic job of that underneath Keenan. I would love to sign Keenan again, but it would be pretty much if that was a striker that you were then trying to drop Brennan into that number 10 role as an attacking midfielder, or if you used him as another impact sub to maybe be a direct replacement for Taiwo.
It's a hard one though, isn't it? Because could you imagine Surridge, Davis and Awoniyi it'll be a really, really hard bench to have. And I think one would probably end up going on loan. And I think it probably would be Surridge. Although I'd probably send out Davis personally, but
yeah,
I don't know. You wouldn't know unless you're in that situation. My dad's just messaged me because he can't message on the YouTube. So hi, Dad, I know you're listening. And you've said Gibbs-White all day. But for how much, I ask you, Dad? So message me what you think. Is 30 million too much, Dad? Let me know what you think. Look at this guy. He's trying to get me again. You can't get me with what you're trying to make me say. I'm not going to say it. Okay. I do read these comments very, very clearly. I would take Davis back. Yeah. I mean, not for 15 million. That is certainly not modest pay.
Yeah.
Joe Pirro is a great shout. Yeah. Oh, sorry. When you said Pirro, I was thinking Perez. Apologies. I was thinking Perez. I don't know why I've said that now. I was thinking, I mean, yeah, different players. Absolutely. Yeah. Pirro could be a good option. I think he's Swansea. Is he? He's Swansea? Might be. I know there's Dennis from Watford, someone mentioned as well. Central midfield is important. Yeah, absolutely. Money's got to be spent in midfield. And I think I agree with you, actually, Joe. I think probably a fairly decent striker is what we would need. Nothing out the blue. Because I know that Taiwo is going to do enough for us.
I think my only concern about if we go big money in for a striker is everyone then going to look at, right, we need to feed the ball to the striker and he's going to be the one that gets us our goals. From playing, I mean, showing my youth a bit, from playing FIFA for a good few years, if I get a new striker in my team, the first person I want to be scoring all of my goals is that man. I'd rather have option between Taiwo, Brennan Johnson, and then Sam Surridge coming on, Keenan Davis coming on, and just being able to have a solid attacking midfielder who's got the vision and the awareness of, right, they're going to make these runs at this time when I'm in this position. I just need to put the ball here and they're going to lock onto it. I'd rather have an attacking midfielder with that kind of intelligence and awareness to be able to put those balls in and then trust that our players who we've already got are going to get on the end of it.
Well, we don't build a squad around the striker, do we? As we've seen from Cooper, this is just a team. It's the team and everything's built around everyone. Everyone complements everyone. Or that's the idea. So yeah, and Gamer 316 agrees with you. We do need a strong midfield. Midfield is key. Valentin Castellanos, we were linked with him earlier in the window. I know that Leeds were also, but he hasn't really gone there. Give Jay a sub. Yeah, guys, if you can, we're on 543. If we can do 550 by the end of the night, I'd be very pleased with that. But I think we could probably go for an hour and a half. We're going to have Ez on later as well. And Joe, we're going to be testing your vocal cords. Don't worry, you won't be singing.
It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, if you want to sing though, mate, you can. But I would like to try and keep viewers. I'll leave it to Ez, please. He's asked to come on the stream, so I know. Ez, it'll be great to have you. Formation change? No, I think probably keep it as it is for now. I would say I think it's working. Why change something that's not broken? You can't really fix it.
I think that's something that. I think that's something that Steve Cooper's proven he's good at, to be able to make that kind of tactical change mid-game. We saw that against Derby at home at the City Ground. We started with a 4-back. We realised that it wasn't working and they were all over us for the first 20, 30 minutes. We then swapped immediately back to a formation that we were more comfortable with, and we took.
You had to give Derby credit for that game, because I mean Ryan Yates didn't fit in that back four, did he? Let's be completely honest. It was. Do you know what? Of every game that I've watched this season, I mean, I've only been to half the home season games from December. I think that one scared me the most. Obviously, it's Derby Day, so it's going to scare you more. But like, you know what I'm saying. So Kel here says MGW 17 million tops. I'm still waiting for my dad to get back to me on how much he wants to pay for Morgan Gibbs-White. It looks like he wants to get him on a free, but Dad, that's not possible. We've got 13 mil for Ronaldo, yeah, and then about 25 mil in wages. No, thank you. Oliver Klozoff also playing. I don't know anything about Oliver, to be honest. Pirro, yeah, also a good idea. Who do you think the second loan might be? Some rumours saying Conor Gallagher. Maybe. I think we'd be lucky to get him, but you know, who knows? If he's not in the Chelsea squad, then I think he would get a lot of game time at Forest. So I wouldn't write it off, actually, but I would say be cautious on it. I'm not 100%. Ross Barkley or Aaron Ramsey? Potentially, yeah. I mean, obviously, as long as Aaron's not taking penalties, we're okay. Try for Sander Berger. A busy note, number 10, who does... Listen, I'd have Boris up front at the moment. He wants to go on a free, doesn't he? Do you think we'll be looking for another striker? Absolutely, Sahil. I think it's only a matter of time until we get a new one, to be honest. But they are working from defence upwards by the looks of it. And I think probably striker will be very last deadline day kind of thing. Davison Tower will be our new Antonio Assombalonga combo. Yeah, be interesting. Lars Bohinen, bit before my time, I must say. People forget Gibbs-White does both jobs, number 10 and striker. Yeah, but yeah, I still think 30 million is a real big push. Nottingham Forest trying to sign Sandra Berger. I think that's his wife. I think that's his wife there. Yeah, no, Sandra Berger. For gosh sake, I knew you'd get me.
Someone got you finally.
Oh, someone got me. Do you know what, Russell? I'll give you that because everybody else has made it so obvious. But Oliver wow, I knew you. If this is what YouTube streaming is, then I don't want to be part of it because I know people are going to be trying to get me out for bloody years. Alexander Isaac, he's a great striker. I think we would be very lucky to get him at anywhere under 40 million, to be honest.
Yeah.
Would absolutely love Sander Berger, yeah. Ramsey at number 10, maybe. On one loan space for Conor Gallagher, possibly. Harvey Elliott, maybe, but I think he's probably got some involvement at Liverpool, surely. But possibly. Or Curtis Jones. I think we were linked with Curtis Jones at one point as well. I'm sure we were.
Yeah, that was just like a loose link, I think.
Yeah. But I want to talk a little bit about, obviously, we spoke about strikers, we spoke about Nico Williams, we spoke about, Omar Richards. I do want to mention that earlier on today, there was a pretty spectacular moment. As a certain Simon Jordan tweet, he answered my tweet. Now, I met Jim White over at Wembley, and that was absolutely amazing to meet him. He was a real, just amazing guy to talk to. I walked into Wembley. I did all the security frisking, and believe me, there's a lot of security. Thousands of workers outside of Wembley, all getting ready, and I'm just walking in, obviously dead nervous and sweaty from the taxi journey, and got in the lift, and I was just on my phone, like kind of obviously awkward lift silence. Don't want to talk to anybody because I'm too nervous. And Jim White is there, and I'm thinking, as a kid, I've always watched you on Sky doing the transfer news, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you Jim White? And he's like, yes, I am. You know, and he's pretty like upbeat Scottish voice, and like, yeah, we were talking. I was like, can I get a picture? And he was like, yeah, you can, but you can also get an interview as well. And I was like, whoa, let's go and do it. And since then, I got a mention on TalkSport, which was awesome. But I tweeted this morning, just looking back at when I got mentioned on one of my favourite sports shows, which is the show with Jordan and White, by my idol, Jim White. And this is what Simon Jordan says. If Jim is your idol, Jamie, can I give you some advice? You need to get out a bit more. How unreal is that? I think Simon, if you're ever listening to this, I think you're a bit salty. You weren't my idol in that situation, but Simon, listen, you know, maybe you'll have to start mentioning me more on TalkSport if you want that privilege, okay, of me tweeting you. Okay?
The first thing that he needs to do is retract his statement that he made about our Lord and Savior Steve Cooper about calling him a perennial loser.
Yeah, and he also needs to take back what he said about keeping Chris Hughton in, because that was the most. I mean, as much as, you know, some people, I know that people were saying, what if we'd given him more time before the whole Cooper thing happened? Obviously, nobody's saying that now, but people beforehand were probably, you know, were saying, I think we should give him more time. How you like me now? You're not saying that now, are you? It's fair to say. So, but yeah, that's Simon Jordan, an interesting character. Sometimes I love him, sometimes I hate him. That's the best part about him. So just a quick thought, all these new players we're getting, just think how good the new season is going to be. I can't wait. James, you've set up a YouTube channel. Please put your link in the comments, and I'll subscribe, and I'll put all the pinning stuff on it so people can see it. But yeah, going to be a good season, and it brings me to my first point. Are you going to the Newcastle game?
I don't think so. I think I'm going to struggle to get any kind of a ticket, if I'm honest. I think because I don't live in the Nottingham area anymore. I've moved away, and I've been away for the past 7 to 8 years.
Wow.
I've been able to get to the odd game with my dad, and I think that's as lucky as I'm going to get. We watched the playoff final together in a pub in Nottingham. Brilliant. And one of the first things that we said as soon as we won that game is, let's look forward to trying to get a hold of a season ticket together so we can go and watch every single game at home. That's now going to be pretty much an impossibility because I don't think they're allowing any new season ticket holders to get into the game. So,
have you got Sky Sports?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
come on,
I
he's
borrowed
got
that
Sky
off of him as
Sports.
well. He pays for that, and I just binge off it to watch any kind of sports.
Wow, he's leeching off his dad's Sky Sports account. That I absolutely do respect. I love that. So you're going to be watching the Newcastle game. You're
Oh yeah,
going to
I'm
be
going to be
watching.
watching every single game. I think honestly, I cannot wait to watch the Newcastle. I think because it's one of the games, I'm not sure if it's going to be on Sky Sports. I'll definitely be watching it on any kind of medium that I can possibly find it on, even if it goes to I follow on Forest. But I think I'm more looking forward to the first home game. I think that is the first home game is going to blow the lid off of what we've seen at the City Ground. And I think that's where we're going to actually introduce ourselves as a Premier League regular. I think people are going to be. I think some fans who either haven't been to a Forest game because they've been in the Premier League and we've been out of it for 23 years, or some of the younger fans who've started and they've chosen to follow a Premier League club by proxy, they're going to be surprised by what the Forest fans bring to every single home game and even to the away games. I think all the away fans who are lucky enough to get to any kind of game, they're going to show exactly what Forest fans are made of and what we've been waiting for the past 20 years. And we're just going to let it all out. And we're going to almost dominate pretty much any stadium that we get into.
And also, Forza Garibaldi are going to play a big part of it as well. I mean, obviously, all the flag displays that we had, and I think there was a game a couple of years ago, and it was Forest v Derby, and they had and I think it was, when was it? Because it was something to do with the war. It might have been Remembrance Day. I can't remember, but do you remember when they had that big flag at Trent
it was
End?
a tribute. I think it was a tribute to the First World War.
Yeah, First World War.
Forest players who then got signed up to represent the country in the war. I know exactly what tifo you're on about.
It was absolutely amazing, and I remember me and my friend, we managed to get free tickets because back in those days they had free seats to give out, and it was amazing. One of the best flag displays I've ever seen. And then obviously you saw all the ones leading up to getting to Wembley and all that, and the Acquiesce one, which was amazing. And I won't sing for you. I'll let Ez do the Acquiesce singing, but if he can hit those notes, fair play, Ez. But Newcastle's a massive game though, isn't it? Now and obviously Phil says here, I'm going to go to Newcastle if I can get a ticket and an oxygen tank. You'll need it going up that high. Now it's always been a dream for me to go to St James's Park. I've said it on multiple times, and if you want to try and catch me out for this, you can't, because I've said loads of times I want to go to St James's Park. That is my dream stadium to go to in the Prem, and I'm pleased to say I'm going to be commentating on that game on the 6th of August. So, St James's Park, obviously lots of history, and, Newcastle have had their fair share of tough times over the last decade, but they've had really good times before that as well. So, tough opponent. I mean, I know they're going to be spending fairly wisely. As much as they're spending a lot, they're going to be spending wisely this summer. What are your thoughts going into that game? Do you think it's a winnable game?
I think realistically, any game is a winnable game. And I feel we pretty much, obviously against some of the big teams, I think Liverpool, Man City, probably Spurs this year, and maybe even Chelsea. I think those games, if you went into it almost expecting to win, you'd almost be written off as pretty much a Forest diehard who's going to expect to win every single game of the season and almost recreate Frank Clark's classics of finishing third on our first year back, or even better, Brian Clough on actually winning the league on our first season back. But I think there's a lot of teams that we're going to go to this year. And I think as one of the newest promoted teams, and also as the team that's got promoted via the playoffs, so you'd almost write them off as the first team in the last spot this season for the Premier League. I think we're going to be able to not just hold our own at the City Ground and make it our fortress. I think we're going to be able to go to a lot of stadiums this year, make the noise that we've seen when we've gone to all the Championship grounds last season, and almost make every single game in that midfield fight a winnable game.
It's going to be hard. Don't get me wrong. And obviously they're going to have a good team. They've signed Sven Botman, who's really, really good, but beatable. Absolutely. Forest know what they need to do. Steve can adapt tactics. And, even if they don't win, it's about the morale and, how the team goes into the next game, and it's at the City Ground. So the theatre of dreams. You know, they've got a lot to look forward to. What stadium changes need to be made? I think there's a lot to do with like the lighting. I know that's a big one. Premier League standard lighting. There's to do with VAR. I know that they're making moderations to the media area because there's obviously not enough room for media right now at Forest, so they've got to add more. I don't know if it'll be like the top end of Peter Taylor, that maybe if they're cutting off a row or two for media, I don't know, but a lot of changes have to be made because as it stands at the moment, at the Derby game, there was not a single seat in the media. Now, just imagine every game in the Prem, you're going to need double that amount of seating. So, going to be tough. But yeah, media has to increase, lights has to increase. Guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe because we are so close to 550. We're literally at 548 subscribers. I know a few of you jumped out the stream. It is getting fairly late. We're going to go till 9:30. If you can drop a subscribe and maybe a little like as well, that'd be brilliant. So looking through some of these comments, yeah, as I say, just a few light upgrades and media stuff as well. Wonder if they are rethinking the 38. I don't know if they're rethinking the 38,000 necessarily. I think it's more of a case of how are they going to pass it through the planning application process? Because obviously there's residential areas nearby. Can they really go much bigger? I don't know. There's a river next to the stadium, so lots of work to be done, guys. If you can, please share this this stream. A few people dropping out at the moment, I know, because you probably got stuff to do tonight and stuff. I completely understand. It is a Thursday night, but just share this and subscribe if you can. It would mean a lot. We're so close to 550. Could we do 600 by the end of next week? Maybe. So let's have a look. Brentford did amazingly well from getting in via the playoffs, absolutely, but they've got their second season curse this year, so we'll have to see how they get on. But if they're signing Keane Lewis-Potter, I can't see them going wrong personally. Steal for 16 million. I got slated saying women know nothing about football because I'm not going to get into that argument. I'll let you guys discuss that there. Away fans allowed anyway. With the extra allocation, they'll drown out some home support. Oh, well, you know. Yeah, and as I said very, very loudly, please share this channel on your social media accounts. It takes a second. Just click the share button and it will share to any of your social medias. As we've spoke about in today's stream, players signing in, and for anybody just joining, we've got new players signing, and Nico Williams, Omar Richards, and also this guy's been linked as well, Yusuf Yazici, 0.75-ish goal contributions every 2 games. Then you've got Nico Williams. He could be signing as well for 17 million. Looks like that'll be happening by the end of the week. And then you've also got Omar Richards, who will also be signing by the end of the week for around £8.82 million as well. And obviously the Simon Jordan tweet. But yeah, so lots going on today. And Nick says, check out Alex Bowser YouTube channel, Forza's filmmaker. Yeah, and it was Remembrance. So yeah, guys, if you can, just check out a little bit of what Nick has just mentioned there. Because Forza are brilliant. I really like Forza. And it'd be great to maybe collaborate with them one day. That's the dream, isn't it? So, yeah, lots going on there. My dad's just sent me a little link here. He's still not said, Dad, you've got to tell me, how much would you pay for Morgan Gibbs-White? This is a question for you, Dad. So, yeah, and come on, Dad. I'm gonna look at this bit of transfer news you've sent me also. But come on, how much would you pay for him, Dad? Would it be £20 million or would it be £30 million? Any more than 30 million in your bonkers. So let's get some questions in, guys. If you've got any questions for me and Joe, we would be more than happy to answer them. I feel like I've got through a lot of questions today. I'm trying to go at a fairly steady pace. I mean, there's a few people dropping out. If you can share this to any groups, that would be amazing. Any questions you've got for us regarding Forest, please let us know. My dad has just messaged me. Is it with a price? We'll find out. 25 mil, that's it, my dad says. Guys, 25 mil for Morgan Gibbs-White, and he says that is the absolute cut-off point. I think that's fair. Bit of a push still, don't get me wrong, but I think that is about right.
20 mil, 5 mil add-on.
Yeah, 20 mil, yeah, 5 mil add-on, yeah, that sounds about right. And as Sahil says, 20 million only for MGW, not worth any more. Interesting, guys. Please subscribe if you can. We're doing really, really good. 20 mil, no more from me, says Nick. Too much, £25 million. Oh, it's a big debate, isn't it? Well, let's talk about the other options than Morgan Gibbs-White, because there is other options. Obviously, we've already mentioned literally minutes ago, Yusuf Yazici. There's also been other players rumoured. Obviously, Aribo's now going to Southampton. And as Dominic said here, Ross Barkley. Sean says Anthony Martial on loan. Obviously, Stan Collymore mentioned it, perhaps in a jovial matter. But I don't think that Anthony Martial would really fit in with what Forest want. What do you think about that, Joe? I think he's got a bit of an ego and he's a bit lazy for me. I wouldn't have him at Forest.
No, I don't even know if he'd take a loan, if I'm honest. I think he'd rather be signing on somewhere where he can almost see a bit of a future for 2 to 3 years and make a decent amount of money there. But no, I wouldn't have him.
No. Well, obviously it's a big gamble as well with, wages wise. He's going to want a fairly decent wage. We all know that, and how much Man United will be willing to pay, I don't know. But I can see Eric Ten Hag offloading him probably this summer, unless he's in their plans, which I don't think he will be. So yeah, let's get Jay to 1,000. Guys, if you could, that'd be great. But I just want to go for the 550, if I'm being completely honest, because we hit 205 subscribers at most today. We're at 550, so thank you all very much. We've done it. I'll just show you quickly on the screen wherever I can get my camera in. Is it going to work? Is it going to work?
Oh.
No. Okay, well, listen, we've hit 550 anyway. You can trust me, I promise. If you can subscribe, that'd be great. But so Tim, I'm trying not to rush. I am trying not to rush. I promise. It's literally just a case of I want to answer all your questions. And we do try and have as much chat, but I do really want to answer all your questions because I know some of you are commenting again and again to ask the questions. So I will try my best to get that. But yeah, let's have a little chat again about Nico Williams. Obviously, young player, £17 million. I want to talk specifically though about that price tag. Do you think £17 million is a little bit too much? Obviously, Liverpool have bumped up that value by a good few million over recent times. Do you think 17 million's about right for that kind of player?
I think that's about right. I mean, especially if Middlesbrough have the goal to ask for 15 million for Jed Spence, who's been an outstanding player, yes, in the Championship, but has no kind of nuance about him in terms of how he's going to be able to play in a top flight or play at a top level in terms of internationally. I know he plays for some of the younger international teams, but for Nico Williams, who's playing for the starting 11 for Wales, has had some starting chances for Liverpool and also shown exactly what he can do, almost matching Jed Spence for Fulham, who topped the Championship last season. I think the price tag they're asking for him, if they were to try and compare it almost off of what Middlesbrough are asking for Jed Spence, I think that's a completely fair valuation and something that we should definitely be happy to be able to pay.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to put some highlights in the background for you all because I know that you've all enjoyed, and we played this earlier, but for anybody that hasn't seen it, this is it. So to be honest, I would say Morgan Gibbs-White is worth exactly how much Steve. Yeah, I completely agree. We can't loan any more players from Man U. Yeah, Russell, you're right. I mean, it's more a hypothetical situation. Aribo a bargain for 6 million, but I think Southampton are getting him for 10 million. But yeah. I think they just said we just want the release clause. Sahil says here, Nico, decent age and will be worth more than 17 million in a couple of years. So maybe a bit of money ball there, but not directly money ball necessarily. But they're obviously looking at the future potential sell there by the looks of it, Sahil. So yeah, what do you think about that future valuation? Do you think potentially, in the coming years he could double that, if not triple it potentially?
Oh, easily. I mean, all you have to look at is how willing, again, going back to Jed Spence, how willing Middlesbrough would have been just to almost offload Jed Spence for pennies to the pound compared to what they're now trying to sell him at. And I think, again, you have to look at what Forest Ant said there is the players that we're looking at getting, they're exactly how much Steve Cooper says that they're worth. I can only preach that as much as every other Forest fan who's probably interested in all the signings that we're looking at making. I think the way that he's going about it, about trying to keep the same core group of players, but only adding where he sees where there's actual value in the player for every single signing that we've made so far. I can only say any player that Steve Cooper is looking at and says, yes, he is going to be a tremendous contribution to our club in the Premier League, we have to say, yes, we're going to commit whatever we can to try and get those players into our squad for the next season.
And do you know what? And I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of work to be done, and he's going to be a great sign. You just saw from the clips there, he's very defensively minded as well as being good on the attack as well. But I do want to ask the question because obviously it's a massive talking point. There's only 3 weeks left till the season starts. Well, around that kind of time, 3 or 4 weeks. Well, 4 weeks yesterday. Now, it's not a long amount of time, and they've still got pre-season to do in that time as well. So players are going to have a lot of work to do. How important do you think it is that Steve Cooper brings in players that are fairly known to each other and himself for next season? Because obviously not really a lot of time to settle in. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's definitely beneficial that they can then almost hit the ground running straight from training and into pre-season to then go into the first game of the season to be able to be almost gelled straight into the squad, have a working relationship with the manager, know exactly what he's expecting out of you for every single game and every single training session that you're going into. So it's definitely beneficial. And I think that's why we're probably seeing a lot of signings that are all around the same age. I know a lot of people will have said we need to be signing some more Premier League proven players who've got a bit more experience behind them to try and get them into the squad. But I like the way that we've been approaching it, where we're trying to sign players of the younger age who've had some experience in top flights of their respective leagues, especially in Moussa Niakhaté, who's captained Mainz this season just gone. So we already know that he's a proven leader. So he almost fills in that role as someone who's going to be able to lead that back line and almost replace the know-how and experience that Steve Cook's had. So I think that the way that they've approached it has been very intelligent, very well thought out. So yes, the players that we do sign, if they do have any kind of relationship in the past to Steve Cooper, such as Nico Williams being part of the Liverpool setup, Morgan Gibbs-White being part of the Swansea setup on loan, as well as the England under-19s, it's always going to be beneficial.
Well, I do want to say as well, like maybe as much as people do want that Prem experience and they do want players that, you know, maybe are going to cost a bit more, but have been there, you know, there's some players that have been at clubs for 5 or 10 years. You know, it's going to be very difficult to actually make them adjust quite as quickly as we need them to adjust. But I do want to ask the question of, obviously, you mentioned that Moussa Niakhaté was captain at Mainz, which I've now learned how to pronounce. But he, obviously, captain, he's a natural leader. He's got good quality to him and he knows how to work a team and manage a team. But I want to ask you the question of, how do you think he's going to work in a Forest team? Obviously, he's not a captain. And, you know, although he's gone up in terms of league quality, he's technically gone down in terms of ranking within the squad. You know, do you think that will have any effect on the morale of the team, or do you think it will just be just normal?
Shouldn't have any effect on the morale of the team. I mean, obviously, he will have to make that change personally as well as culturally, moving from the Bundesliga into the Premier League, into a team. I mean, going from his interviews, he speaks very good English, so that's not going to be any kind of a barrier that we might have seen from previous signings that we've made. So he should be able to slot in, have decent communications with all of the players as well as the management and the coaching staff. I think obviously going from being a captain and the leader of the back line, now having to go and listen to Joe Worrell, who's going to be given all pretty much the commandings of that back line as well as the entire team, that might be a bit of a challenge for him going into it. But I think he's just going to want to be proving himself at Premier League level, as well as being part of the team. He's already said in his interviews what he said about the team, and going from the other teams in the Premier League who were interested in him, the fact that he fought them off and said, no, I want to play for Forest. That's a massive bonus that we need, and we know that he's now going to do everything that he can for us, and do everything that he can for the team and the club. So I think that's a massive plus.
And it's also important as well that the squad has that kind of competitive atmosphere to it, and by that, like healthy competition, you know, in the back room and on the training pitch, because you know there's players there, and I will come on to your question, Toby Tales 1, about Graben in a minute. We're going to talk about that. We've got around 15 minutes left of the stream. There's obviously players in that subs bench, or I think John Panzo, I think he's going to have a big year this year. I think he could potentially get a loan, although I think probably he will stay on the bench for me. I think Mbaye will get out of the loan this year. But he's looked solid in training, Panzo has, and I think I just think there's something to him. I've got a feeling that this year is going to be a year for him, and if Niakate is getting pressured by the likes of John Panzo potentially getting a chance to move into that team for a game or two, it's going to make him want to work harder. And I like that because it's healthy competition. They all get on really well. And, you've not heard anything negative really from the squad since Cooper came in. So if I'm being honest, it's a case of now like waiting to see what happens, letting them gel together in Spain or in England or in Germany when they go over, so yeah, I think that the competition at the squad, the club is really healthy. And I think it'll only get better because he's signing players that want to play for that club and want to play in that league. And he's giving people an opportunity as well to show off how good they really are. Obviously, a big cost. Well, let's talk about Lewis Grabban, because we now know that he's out of contract, isn't he? And free agent. So he can go anywhere he wants. Now, Toby Tales asks, what is the situation? I don't know the situation really. I know that West Brom were interested last week, apparently. But in my opinion, they would need someone different than Grabban if they want to actually consider that top six again. As much as I love Grabban, I think they're going to need to look for someone a little bit younger, who hasn't perhaps got as injury prone as he gets older. But Grabban was a great servant for Forest, wasn't he? We've seen derby days. We've seen big wins over, good clubs. And we saw obviously he scored that goal against Arsenal, didn't he, in the FA Cup. So what are your thoughts on that? Great servant to the club, but unfortunate to see him go.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can just attribute the fact that if it wasn't for his injuries this season, he would have been our captain throughout the entire year. I don't think anybody would have disputed the fact that he deserved to be our captain. He's been a great talisman for the team, been someone that's led us through a lot of dark times for the past couple of years, who's been someone that we could always depend upon, who's going to be able to find a goal out of somewhere. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for Lewis Grabban. He's definitely one of our favourite players through the years, but I think we've now, especially since we've reached the heights that we've got to now, where we're pushing, we've pushed into the Premier League. Now we're hoping to try and push up and try and stay in the Premier League for future years to come. I think we've just naturally reached that point where we're going to have to look for players who are better than Lewis Grabban, as unfortunate as it is to say, who are also better and of a younger age, who can then try and stay at the club, promote that longevity of the team. And I think it's probably right, and it's probably of the best interest of himself and the club that we mutually part ways.
But it did say that he was going to be retained, didn't it? I'm not really sure what's happened with that, and I don't know what will happen now. But I suppose anything can happen. And as Nick has very rightfully pointed out, Richie Sumpter, he's a friend of mine on Facebook, and I'm trying to get an interview with him at some point as well. So that'll be interesting. Would you all let me know what you think? Would you all like to see me interview Richie Sumpter and maybe get him to take a few pictures of me in a Forest shirt? Wouldn't that be awesome? Because I'd love to do one of those little guess who's signing for Forest next, and it's just me there like that in the background whilst the actual players that's signing is in front of me. That'd be cool.
Get a hold of the away shirt and then do the official promotion to sell that on.
Do you know what? I'm going to message Richie. I'm going to say to him, how about this, right? You can have my ugly mug wearing that shirt, but it looks great for the club, doesn't it? Come on. Grabban was offering a coaching role at Forest. Really? Really? That's surprised me a little bit, I must say. I thought he's still got a little bit to go in him.
Oh, he's definitely got a lot of game time in him, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be at Forest in the Premier League coming off the bench.
No, I think he's got time to go. Is Lyle Taylor going to get a chance at first team? No, I don't think so personally. I think we'll probably end up selling him this summer, or maybe giving him a loan. But if I'm being honest, like if we don't sell him, we're only loaning him to sell him next year. Do you know what I mean? And if we're going to loan him again, then I just don't get the point in that really much, because we'll be signing other strikers, and there's probably youth strikers that we could use ahead of Lyle Taylor. If I'm being honest, I would have Dale Taylor over him. But I really like Lyle Taylor. I just think he needs a different team. Like, look at how well he did at Birmingham last year. I mean, Birmingham won't be having him back financially, I don't think, but I think he did well. So loving your show. This is Rockabilly Gardener. I love gardening, by the way, so get in contact. Love your show, Media Man. Last night's show was good too. Thank you very much. It wasn't quite as well viewed last night, but it was fun to do, that's for sure. Is Arthur still with us? I think he is, isn't he, Arthur? I'm sure he's got another year left on his contract, hasn't he? Yeah. And he's obviously on decent money, so he's someone that Forest need to offload, really. Phil says disagree. Would be good for the team, squad, and fans to have Grabs for another season and then move on to coaching. Yeah, but at the end of the day, if he wants game time for maybe his final year in football, why not? There's nothing to say that he won't come back. But you never know. You're watching tomorrow's game. I don't know if I will be, because I've got work tomorrow, unfortunately, and I've got college as well. But I'll try my best to watch the highlights and maybe have it on whilst I'm working on the radio. If there's any radio stations cover it, I'll find someone. Any news on Stephen Reid? Not really, but we haven't seen any pictures of him in Spain, have we? So what do you think is going on with that, Joe? The whole Stephen Reid situation? Because I know he was interested in maybe taking up a bit of managerial work. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not too sure, if I'm personally honest. I've not seen any news on him either, so I have no idea what his plans are, what the club's plans are with him. I think going more into a managerial role would be beneficial, but like you said, I'm shooting in the dark here. I've not seen anything about it at all.
So yeah, nothing really much on that. Stephen Reid is a great guy. Had the privilege of meeting him a couple of times last season, him, Alan Tate and Steve, all together. Really nice guys. So hopefully Stephen Reid stays, but he's a good coach, and I think he'd probably do well as a manager. Just a shame that he might have to go. But yeah, hadn't Stephen Reid been given an extended holiday? I really don't know about that one, to be honest. I don't know what's going on in that situation. So you'll probably know better than me. And yeah, he was linked with Wimbledon, as Ben says. So will Forest have a sponsor? Yeah, Ben said there's negotiations going on by the looks of it. So we'll wait a bit more for that, as long as it's not Fowler's refrigerator and we're okay. Jonathan Panzo used to play for Chelsea. He did indeed. And great show as usual, Jay. Thank you very much, Anne. Means a lot to me. And guys, if you do want to subscribe, would mean a lot. We are on 553 subscribers, so would be great if we could get to 555, wouldn't it? I won't be saying the same when it comes to the 600, 666. We're not going to be going there. Let's have a bit of good luck, shall we? So after Grabs' injury in January, Coop spoke about how he was doing striker training with... Yeah, I heard about that. And obviously, there's a big difference between Surridge and Davis and Grabban. And I mean that as individuals, because I think Davis is a different striker to Surridge, and Grabs is a different striker to both of them. Grabs is a bit more of a poacher, Davis a bit more physical, can do a bit of everything, and Surridge is a finisher. You got three very different strikers there, but Grabs obviously a lot of experience in the game. So do you think perhaps that Grabs is just as important on the pitch as he is off the pitch, and in particular in January?
I think he's definitely got his role on the pitch. Like you said they're all three different strikers who have all got three pretty much completely different play styles and talents and abilities that we'll know them for. But I think I'd have to call back to what Phil's comment was earlier, where he said he disagreed. He's still got something for us, but I think he's too good to just be sat on the bench and almost playing similar to that Cafu role that we grew to know and love last season, where he is the talisman on the sidelines in the blue bib, kind of cheering the team on and giving them all advice up on the sides. I think Grabban has a role to play and in a starting 11 somewhere. And I just don't think it's with us, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And obviously he's a free agent now. So Vicky, to answer your question, he won't be with Forest on the FPL because of that. So do you think the different wage levels of stars and squad players will cause any problems this year? Not really, no. Personally, I don't think so because of the fact I think they all know that they're going to be on a fairly good wage for who they are. And they know that certain players are going to be on certain wages because of what the other team that they came from wants or whatever. So for me, I don't think so. Because I think Steve knows how to cultivate a good atmosphere within the locker room. But no, I think they should be fine. Now, Joe, I've got a question for you here from Ben. Where do you think Forest will finish in this coming season?
I know that we had a quick talk about this before we went live. And I'll say pretty much what I said there. I think we'll finish 12th to 15th. I think we've got enough about us, especially with the squad that we're building. We're building a very strong back line now, as we've seen by all the signings that we've made, where we're going to be able to hold very tight draws or be able to pinch a 1-goal win. Definitely against the teams that we got promoted with, we should be able to finish above them. And then I think some of the Premier League teams who are also trying to do some business in the transfer window, but I think we're just going to be able to pinch them with teams such as Leeds, Southampton, Brentford. I think Everton as well. These are all teams that we should be easily competing within as a smaller league outside of the top 4 or 6. I think we're definitely going to be in that fight, especially with the support that we're going to take home and away every single game. We should be finishing. Obviously, if you base it purely on statistics, we're the team that got promoted through the playoffs. We should be finishing 20th.
Okay,
without a doubt. But I think we could comfortably finish 12th to 15th, be that team that got promoted through the playoffs, who surprises every team that we play. We play a good brand of football. We play very attacking football. On the counter-attack, we'll be able to surprise quite a lot of teams who we've not played for a good few years, if even a decade or two. I think we should be able to finish within that bracket of 12th to 15th.
And that sounds, I mean, James has gone very ambitious and said 10th to 12th. I've said 15th for me as my lowest guess, because I do think there's possibility to get more. There's always possibility to get more. But you've got to be realistic. I think 15th, and I think, maybe 12th at the very best. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to go 15th. We're approaching the last couple of minutes, guys. So it's been great having you all joining. And I appreciate your kind comments. Out of reach, it's been amazing. Great show tonight, mate. Well, it's fair to say I'm going to be dead cringy with this joke. We thought 550 was out of reach. Well, it certainly isn't. We smashed it. So it's been great to have you here tonight. Dean says 14th. Andrew says 10th to 14th. So lots of ambition. It seems that the prediction's starting to get higher and higher as we're signing more. Harold says 12th. Eve says 14th. I'd love a cup run, says Russell. I think it's possible. I think you just look at last year. If we can do it then, we can definitely do it now, depending on how kind the FA are to us as well. Not that will really matter anymore because we are in that top tier. Last year, Norwich went up as champions. What happened to them? Of course, it doesn't just because you've gone up as champions doesn't mean anything. And look at Fulham as well. But equally, I think we've got better recruitment than Norwich. So I think we've got that one up.
Transfer last year, they were relying on Timu Pukki to carry them through and score all their goals for them, and just didn't work.
Which we don't do because we have a team, not just the one player. If we sign another 4 or 5 players of similar quality or what we've already seen higher than 16th, yeah. Forest, that great show as usual. Thank you. It's been great to have Joe here. Trying to work out how I do this now. Joe here with me, who is just in the other booth right next to me. So it's been great to have you. And it's obviously this is your very first show, so I hope you've enjoyed it, Joe. And we'll definitely have you on again soon. I mean, the hour and a half's gone very quick, and I don't feel tired, so I'm ready for that post-show blues in a minute. Top 10, lads. Whoa, okay, Fonzie. 1-1 against Newcastle in the first game. I'm going to hold you to that, Vicky. I know that you said you're going to bet 150 quid with me, so let's do it. Norwich didn't invest, correct? As Joe said. As nearly 60-year-old, I saw Cloughy get us up to. Yeah, anything can happen. Top 10, says Sahil. Wow, you are ambitious. Loved your stream, mate. Great to, thank you very much, guys. Guys, listen, it's been absolutely amazing. And Phil says my point exactly. It's been amazing streaming tonight. Now, not only have we surpassed 550 subscribers, but we also managed to get 200 of you in the stream. I understand it's fairly late at night, so maybe we'll look at making it a bit earlier next week. And I'll let me know what you think of that. My wife is a Geordie, boo. Oh no. But yeah, thank you very much, Ben, for your kind words. Guys, look, we're going to be heading off now. So it's been great having you all. Let me know what you think. Would you like it a little bit earlier on next Thursday? If so, just give me a shout and I'll make it a little bit earlier for you all. Been wonderful. We'll be talking a lot more about the new signings very soon, and it should be this weekend. This is the guy that's been linked with us, but it looks like Nico Williams and Omar Richards are going to be signing this weekend. So have a great week, everybody. Great weekend, and I'll see you potentially tomorrow night. And if it is tomorrow night, it'll be after 10:30. But it looks like I'll be seeing you at the weekend. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, Phil. It's been great to have you all, and goodbye.